The first sound is a scrape, soft, sharp, and wrong, gliding across the forest floor, just as dusk folds into the trees. The old trail camera plate waits in the cold, its exposed glass trembling in the wind as if it senses the thing approaching. Lantern light from the distant cabin fades behind the hills, leaving the woods breathing in slow, uneasy pulses. A faint voice rises, a broken echo, strained, like someone learning how to speak. It murmurs a name, then twists it, warping it into something hollow. The air holds tight, as if even the forest refuses to exhale. A shape crawls into view, limbs bending in ways no human should move. The camera catches a flicker of its pale skin before the darkness swallows it again. The voice repeats, closer, clearer, almost human. But whose voice is it trying to steal? And why does the figure stop just before the lens, tilting its head as if listening for an answer that never comes? Whispers drift through the settlement long before dawn breaks, thin as threads of smoke curling through the rafters. Neighbors speak in low, trembling voices about the figure seen on the trail plate, insisting it matches stories older than the cabins themselves. They call it the Echo Crawler, a spirit said to mimic the living to lure them into the trees. The way they speak, their words trembling, gives the feeling the legend has been waiting for a moment like this. Some say it crawls like a starving child. Others swear it speaks with the voices of the recently dead. Every version feels like a warning left too late. As lanterns glow in the dim windows, the forest looms silent outside, as though listening. What kind of creature learns voices it should never have heard? And why does it call out as if choosing its next target? Sheriff Ward studies the glass plate with a rigid stillness, as if afraid any movement might disturb the image into something worse. The creature's limbs bend at angles that defy human structure, the joints twisted, the shoulders displaced like a broken marionette. Clara tries to explain the exposure's distortions, but even her steady voice wavers. Jonah's eyes refuse to leave the distorted figure. He mutters that nothing natural crawls with its spine bowed upward like that. The sheriff brushes dust from the surface, revealing the pale skin and dark hollows where eyes should have been. If the lens caught it mid-motion, then how close had it been? And if this is only one captured frame, how many moments went unseen in the dark? Jonah's voice cracks as he admits he heard Martha's voice, drifting from the trees the night she vanished. The confession fills the room like cold water rising, quiet but suffocating. He describes her soft tone, calling his name, the way it wavered as if coming from far away, or not from her throat at all. Clara sets down her notebook, stunned. Sheriff Ward leans against the wall, his breath unsteady. Outside, the wind pushes through the trees, sounding too close to a sigh. If the creature can mimic voices so perfectly, then how many people followed a familiar call into the woods without thinking? And worse, how long has it been listening to learn those voices? By nightfall, the community gathers outside as Jonah develops the next series of plates. One by one, he holds them to the lantern and the crowd recoils. Each image shows the echo crawler closer, first at a distance, then near a tree, then crawling across the ground with its face turned toward the lens. The creature adapts its posture from frame to frame, limbs shifting like it's testing new ways to move. Lantern light flickers across frightened faces as someone whispers that the thing is learned. Another plate reveals it half standing, spine curving, mouth open as if whispering. Clara studies the angles quietly, her hands shaking. In the final plate, the creature appears only inches away, as if reaching for whoever dared to look. A hush falls over them. How far had it crawled after the shutter clicked? And where is it now? The second trail plate dries beside the fire, its surface still smelling of chemicals when the image slowly appears. A hush fills the cabin as the faint outline of the echo crawler forms within the shadows of the trees. This time, the creature is closer, its body twisted forward as if listening for something unseen. The unsettling part comes moments later, When the audio cylinder Clara set beside the path is played back, a child's voice echoes from its grooves, soft, uncertain, calling for help. But there are no children living within miles of the ridge. The voice repeats, quivering, almost frightened of itself, as though the creature stumbled over a memory it did not understand. Sheriff Ward closes his eyes, jaw tight, as the room fills with the aching sound. If the creature learned this voice from someone lost, who taught it? And what fear did the forest swallow before anyone knew to listen? The sheriff leads Clara and Jonah through the morning fog, following the echoed voice that seems to drift from every direction. The forest absorbed sounds strangely here. Every footstep feels swallowed before it reaches the air. The childlike call flutters through the branches like a lost bird, but each time they turn toward it, the echo shifts behind them. Clara marks locations on her notebook, but her pencil trembles as the patterns form a spiraling path, as if the sound is circling them intentionally. Jonah warns they're being toyed with, his voice low and strained. Sheriff Ward raises his lantern despite daylight, hoping to carve a path through the cold haze, pressing in from all sides. The voice repeats again, closer now. So close Clara startles. But the forest remains motionless, and the echo slips away like something smiling just out of sight. Or wait, they reach a clearing where claw marks scar the surface of an old fallen pine. Clara kneels, brushing frost from the grooves with her gloved hand. The marks run in uneven patterns, wide sweeps like an animal, but at odd intervals human fingerprints appear, pressed sharply into the bark. Her breath catches as she compares spacing. The creature uses both forms, shifting its posture as it moves. Sheriff Ward studies the ground, noting drag marks as though the creature sometimes crawls upright, sometimes collapses to all fours again. Jonah refuses to step closer, claiming no living thing chooses two shapes unless it has forgotten its own. Clara swallows hard, struck by the terrible idea that the creature is learning not only voices, but how to move. And if it is learning movement, what will it become once it learns to stand fully? As dusk settles, they gather at Elder Tomlin's porch, a frail man who rarely speaks, but whose memory reaches further than anyone else. His voice shakes as he recalls tales his grandmother whispered, spirits that steal sound, creatures that hide in the dark, and rehearse the voices of the living until they can lure them home. He describes old warnings about shadows that move like broken limbs and faces that freeze in expressions not quite human. Clara listens with scientific calm, but her fingers tighten around her notes. Sheriff Ward watches the forest edge, uneasy at how the old man's stories mirror the trail plates too closely. Jonah nods grimly, saying every legend starts from something real. If these warnings were meant for protection, what danger were they trying to keep away? And how long has the echo crawler been waiting for someone to hear it? The forest floor softens beneath their feet as they follow a thin trail toward the ridge. Sheriff Ward notices prints in the mud. Human shoe prints, steady and well-formed, heading deeper into the trees. But several yards later, the prints shift into strange impressions. Long divots from bent limbs, claw-like scrapes, marks where the creature dragged its body in short, frantic bursts. Clara kneels, studying the transition with widening eyes. She murmurs that no animal changes gait mid-step, not with such precision. Jonah whispers a prayer under his breath, shaken by the thought that the creature remembers how to walk like a person. As the trail leads into thicker darkness, the chilling certainty settles over them. The echo crawler isn't simply hunting. It is becoming something new, something that remembers pieces of the humans it once followed. Night presses heavy on the forest as the search party moves deeper, their lanterns flickering like trembling stars between the trees. Every step crunches through frozen leaves, each sound echoing too clearly, as if something repeats their movements just a breath behind. Sheriff Ward raises a hand for silence, but even the stillness feels crowded, thick with unseen eyes. Clara notes how the woods seem to shift around them. Pathways look familiar one moment, and foreign the next, like the forest is subtly adjusting its shape. Then the mimicry begins. A soft voice calls from the dark, repeating Jonah's name with a careful, almost tender rhythm. Jonah freezes, his face draining of warmth. The voice echoes again, his wife's voice. Gentle, uncertain, as though she is lost and reaching. But the pitch trembles, slipping between tones like a creature trying on emotion. Lanterns waver. The trees grow taller. The voice fades, replaced by a cold silence that feels worse. What waits in the dark that knows the shape of longing so well? They follow the voice to a narrow gulch, where the air turns colder, sharp enough to sting their throats. Clara notices the echo has changed again. Deeper now, slower, weighted with grief. Jonah whispers that he recognizes it, but not from the living. Sheriff Ward grips his lantern tighter as the voice shifts into something unmistakable. The low, broken tone of a man who died years ago, someone the sheriff once knew too well. The sound draws nearer, each repetition scraping across their nerves like a nail dragged slowly along bark. Clara murmurs that the creature isn't just mimicking voices, it is stitching memories together, like scraps of discarded cloth. Jonah steps back, realizing the danger isn't the voice itself, but the way it plays on the mind. The call repeats a final time, hovering between familiarity and something monstrous, before dissolving into a faint, rattling breath. Clara suggests they exploit the creature's obsession with sound. They set a trap at the forest center, a phonograph cylinder placed inside a wooden crate, rigged with a crude shutter plate that will capture anything approaching it. Sheriff Ward tests the recording. A simple call, steady and calm, meant to lure. The echoing woods swallow the sound, sending it spiraling into the dark. Jonah circles the perimeter, glancing often into the tree line as though expecting Martha's voice to reach for him again. The air shifts, subtle at first, then unmistakable. A rustle, not shaped like wind. Clara forces her breath to steady. They step back into the shadows, listening. Then the mimicry returns, repeating the recorded call with eerie precision, but reversed, the syllables twisted backward like a tongue learning to bend. Something moves toward the crate, slow and curious. The shutter is ready. But what if the creature is learning faster than they can contain it? Hours pass before the shutter snaps, with a crack sharp enough to slice the silence in half. Sheriff Ward rushes forward, lantern bouncing wildly as Clara retrieves the newly exposed plate. The image forms slowly, like a secret reluctant to reveal itself. The creature is caught mid-motion, its head twisted backward toward the phonograph as though startled by hearing its own voice return to it. Jonah steps back, murmuring that its expression looks confused, almost pained. Clara examines the plate closely, noticing the way its limbs fold in on themselves as if the creature's shape isn't fixed, but shifting under pressure. Sheriff Ward studies the background, seeing faint impressions in the dirt that suggest it had been circling them for much longer than they realized. If the creature recognizes its own mimicry, what part of it remembers being human? And what part is trying to forget? Later that night, the forest erupts with a howl so jagged it seems to tear through the trees. Clara drops her notes as the sound fractures into layers, multiple voices overlapping. Each one a distorted echo of someone they know. Sheriff Ward grips his lantern, his face pale beneath the flickering flame. Jonah clutches his rifle, but the sound isn't coming from one place. It spirals around them, rising and falling like a storm of memories. The creature is learning faster, gathering new voices, stitching them together until the air vibrates with impossible harmonies of grief, rage, and longing. Then the forest falls silent. Sheriff Ward whispers that the creature is no longer mimicking, it is creating something new. Clara shivers, imagining the echo crawler reshaping itself with every voice it steals. Jonah steps closer, looking into the dark as if expecting someone familiar to walk out. But only the quiet answers them, heavy and waiting. The forest thins as they approach the abandoned mine shaft, its wooden beams sagging like exhausted bones. Sheriff Ward feels the cold shift first, an unnatural drop that presses against the skin. Clara shines her lantern into the darkness, illuminating torn scraps of fabric caught on splintered rock. Colors drift into recognition. A shawl Martha once wore, a sleeve cut from a miner's coat, a strip of cloth with dried blood darkened into rust. Jonah kneels, fingers shaking. As he lifts a frayed ribbon he knows too well. No bodies remain, only remnants pulled apart and scattered like the forest tried to hide the truth. The wind moves through the shaft with a low moan, almost resembling human breath. Clara whispers that the creature may have dragged people here, learning their voices as it took them. Sheriff Ward steps back, feeling the weight of every missing person pressing down on him. If this is only one hiding place, how many more does the forest keep for the creature's memories? Clara spreads her notes across a fallen tree, comparing the creature's shapes captured across the plates. Each image shows a different posture, some hunched, some half-risen, others stretching limbs in ways that look painfully deliberate. She circles patterns, her voice trembling with a discovery she wishes she hadn't made. The creature is moving like someone trained to contort their body, someone who once practiced unnatural flexibility. Sheriff Ward frowns deeply, recalling traveling performers who passed through the region years ago. Jonah looks away, disturbed by the idea that the creature's twisted form might not be the result of nature, but of human interference. The forest growls with distant wind, but beneath it, Clara swears she hears a soft, cracking sound. Bones shifting, joints realigning. The echo crawler is not only learning voices, it is reshaping itself. And what kind of person could have been turned into something that bends away from its own past? Inside the remnants of an old research cabin, dust hangs thick in the stale air, disturbed only by Clara's cautious steps. She finds a leather-bound journal, half buried under collapsed shelves. The pages crack when she opens them, revealing sketches of human silhouettes stretched into impossible forms. Sheriff Ward reads aloud notes about experiments on sound memory, theories on imprinting voices directly onto the mind through forced repetition. Jonah paces behind them, unable to stand still as the truth crawls into focus. Someone once tried to change a human being into something else. The journal details procedures meant to reshape bone, muscle, and voice, each line colder than the last. Clara's voice trembles when she whispers that the creature might have once been a subject here, forgotten, abandoned, left to evolve in the dark. Sheriff Ward closes the journal, unable to shake the thought that the creature's mimicry is not instinct, but trauma echoing back. Clara discovers another set of pages pinned beneath a rusted medical tray. Diagrams showing the gradual bending of limbs, the forced reshaping of joints, and the deliberate dislocation of shoulders to increase crawling speed. Sheriff Ward feels his stomach twist as he studies the drawings, each one labeled with notations about sound training, teaching the subject to mimic syllables, then words, then full sentences. Jonah mutters a prayer, unable to look directly at the pages that detail such purposeful cruelty. Clara points out that the vocal modifications described include stretching cartilage and shaping the jaw to produce multiple tones. This explains the layered mimicry they heard earlier. Sheriff Ward clenches his fists, imagining the person whose body was carved into something unrecognizable. If the creature remembers any part of its human life, what nightmares must echo through its twisted form? As they step outside, the cold air hits them with a force that feels almost intentional, like the forest is exhaling a warning. Clara speaks softly, piecing together the truth. The echo crawler wasn't born. It was made. Sheriff Ward feels the weight of the revelation press into him as he stares toward the mountains. Jonah steps forward, looking back toward the mine shaft and the scattered remains left behind. The pieces align with painful clarity. A human subjected to experiments, abandoned in the dark, forced to adapt to survive. Over years, it became something shaped by silence, fear, and memory. Its mimicry a desperate way to reach out or to call prey. No one can tell. A branch snaps nearby. Lanterns swing. The echo crawler stands at the tree line, half risen, limbs trembling as though straining to remember how to be human again. But its eyes hold no recognition, only hunger and sorrow. And suddenly, the forest feels smaller. The night grows unnervingly still, as Sheriff Ward leads the group back toward camp. The fog thickens, swallowing the light from their lanterns until it dims into pale, shivering halos. Clara listens carefully to the forest, her breath uneven, while Jonah lingers behind, afraid of hearing Martha's voice again. Then, the silence fractures. A voice calls out. Firm, steady, unmistakable. Sheriff Ward's voice, but he hasn't spoken. The imitation comes from the dark ahead, every inflection painfully accurate, even the slight rasp earned from years of cold nights on patrol. Clara grabs Ward's arm, knowing the creature could not mimic him this perfectly unless it had been close enough to study him. Maybe much closer than they realized. The voice repeats, this time sharper, almost impatient, as if trying to guide them off the path. Sheriff Ward steps back, rattled by the realization that the forest now echoes him. If the creature can use his voice, what trust will remain among them? And what truths might it twist when it speaks again? They move cautiously, but every step feels manipulated. The sheriff's voice echoes from both sides now, directing them in opposite directions. Jonah raises his rifle, only to lower it again when Clara warns him the echo crawler wants them divided. Another call breaks through, this one sounding exactly like Clara. She stiffens, breath caught in her throat. The mimicry becomes a storm of overlapping tones, each one familiar, each one wrong. Jonah jerks his rifle toward a shadow that looks like Ward, but the sheriff is standing beside him. Clara shouts for them to stay still, but another imitation of her voice contradicts her immediately. Panic slashes through the group as they spin in place, unsure which direction is safe. The voices weave together, pushing them to distrust their own instincts. And in that moment, each of them realizes the most dangerous weapon the creature wields isn't its body. It's the memories it has stolen. By dawn, exhaustion settles into their bones. Clara insists they rest, but Sheriff Ward's hands won't stop trembling after hearing his own voice lie to him. Jonah volunteers to take first watch, though his eyes betray a fear that sleep will bring the creature into his dreams. As they gather beneath a cluster of old birch trees, Clara develops the plate from last night's trap attempt. The image forms slowly, then sharply, revealing something worse than they expected. The echo crawler stands over the village boundary, its limbs extended as it watches the sleeping cabins. The thought feels like a blade pressed to their throats. The creature studies them not just in the wild, but where they feel safest. Jonah's breath catches, realizing it may have mimicked voices inside the village long before they noticed. Sheriff Ward feels a wave of dread. If the creature can move freely in the settlement, then no wall, no door, no lamplit window could keep it out. Clara studies the plates again, this time focusing on the sequence of voices they have heard. A pattern emerges. The creature does not choose at random. It repeats the voices that stir the strongest emotion: grief, guilt, longing, fear. Jonah realizes this explains why it uses Martha's voice so often. Sheriff Ward lowers his gaze. The voice it used of a man long dead was a wound he has carried for years. Clara scribbles quickly, explaining that the echo crawler seems to feed on emotional resonance, using the most fragile memories as tools. Jonah clenches his fists, furious that the creature twists love into a weapon. The forest around them seems to pulse with quiet movement, as though the creature listens even now. Clara's voice drops to a whisper. If it learns what hurts them most, what will it become when it has learned everything? As they break camp, a sharp cry echoes through the woods. urgent, terrified. A woman's voice. Jonah spins immediately, recognizing it as Mara Lynn, a villager known for helping the sick. Sheriff Ward calls out, but no answer follows. They rush toward the sound, but the forest twists into a maze of branches and mist. Another cry pierces the silence, closer, trembling in a way that feels horribly real. Clara shouts that it's a trap, but Jonah is already running. They find only scattered pine needles, a broken lantern, and the faintest trail of dragged footprints leading deeper into the trees. Sheriff Ward's stomach sinks as he realizes how perfect the mimicry was. Too perfect. Clara kneels by the lantern, whispering that the creature chose Mara because she was kind, and kindness responds quickly. Jonah bows his head, grief-stricken. Somewhere in the dark, the creature releases a soft, almost satisfied exhale, and the forest holds its breath. They follow the faint drag marks into a part of the forest none of them recognize, where the trees bend inward like ribs forming a cage. The light thins until the lanterns feel swallowed, rather than shining. Sheriff Ward senses they are close, too close, when the odor of damp earth and rot thickens in the air. Clara nearly trips over the entrance, a burrow carved beneath tangled roots, the opening large enough for a person to crawl through. Jonah kneels, trembling as he peers inside. Scattered within the hollow are scraps of clothing, boots missing their soles, and small belongings villagers once carried. A child's hair ribbon lies near a pile of bones. Clara covers her mouth, unable to steady her breath. Sheriff Ward feels a breaking inside him as he realizes this place is not just a den. It is a vault of the creature's memories, stolen from the living and the dead. The forest seems to lean closer, as if guarding what sleeps within. And somewhere, deep in the tunnel, something shifts. A rasping breath echoes from inside the burrow, dragging across the narrow tunnel like something scraping its own throat. The echo crawler emerges slowly. First one hand, fingers too long, then another, limbs shifting with unnatural flexibility. When it opens its mouth, multiple voices spill out at once. Clara's, Jonah's, Ward's, and others they cannot identify. Each voice overlaps in fractured rhythms, creating a horrifying chorus of imitation. Clara stumbles back, horrified as she realizes the creature is not mimicking one memory, but all of them at once. Sheriff Ward raises his lantern, forcing himself to meet the creature's reflective eyes. Jonah whispers that the voices sound like they're fighting each other, as if pieces of lives trapped within the creature are struggling to escape. The echo crawler shudders, its body convulsing under the weight of so many borrowed sounds. Then, in a single sudden moment, it howls, every voice blending into a single anguished cry that shakes the forest floor. The creature rises higher than they've ever seen it, its limbs shaking as it attempts to stand fully upright. Sheriff Ward steps forward, instinctively lantern trembling in his grip. The creature tilts its head, its pale face pulling tight around distorted bones. Its eyes lock onto Ward with a strange intensity. Then it speaks with a voice that freezes him. Not his present voice, but the small, trembling voice he had as a boy. Clara gasps as Ward stumbles backward, shaken to his core. The sound is impossible, a memory buried so deeply he barely recognizes it himself. Jonah whispers that the creature must have heard that voice somewhere, somehow. Ward feels something inside him crack, an old wound pulled open. The creature leans forward, repeating the childhood voice again, softer this time, as if pleading. But the twisted shape behind the sound reminds Ward that no plea from this creature can be trusted. The forest closes around them with suffocating quiet. Sheriff Ward is the first to run. Lantern light slashes through the branches as he pushes downhill, Clara and Jonah close behind. The echo crawler gives chase, its movements snapping between frantic leaps and crawling bursts that defy rhythm. The fog thickens into a wall as the creature's layered voices follow them, calling their names begging them to wait, pleading in tones stolen from long-dead villagers. Clara nearly slips on wet leaves, but Jonah grabs her arm, pulling her forward just as a pale hand lunges from the fog behind them. Ward leads them toward the ravine. Breath ragged, heart hammering, the creature's limbs scrape rock and root, its motions jerking like a puppet pulled by too many strings. A branch snaps behind them, then another, too fast, too close. The forest narrows, pressing them toward a place with only one way out. And the creature is closing the distance. They reach a narrow ledge where the ground drops sharply into a thicket of blackened pines. Sheriff Ward spins, breath shaking, lantern held high. The echo crawler emerges seconds later, half crawling, half walking, its limbs trembling under its own weight. It pauses only a few feet away, head tilting like a curious child. Then it speaks, not with Ward's childhood voice, nor Jonah's grief, nor Clara's fear. It speaks with all of them at once. The layered voices pour out like a broken choir, pleading, calling, echoing memories that do not belong together. Clara whispers that the creature is fracturing, overwhelmed by the weight of every life it has tried to imitate. Jonah raises his rifle, tears streaking his face. Sheriff Ward steps forward, torn between mercy and terror. The echo crawler reaches out a trembling hand, as if trying to remember what it once was. Then the ledge shifts beneath them, and the moment snaps like a brittle thread. The night settles into a cold, breathless silence as Sheriff Ward reloads his lantern and steps toward the fallen ridge. Clara and Jonah follow, shaken but determined. The forest feels wrong, too still, too watchful. Clara develops the last remaining plate from the shattered trap, her hands trembling as the image begins to surface. When the blotches of shadow sharpen into form, all three freeze. The echo crawler stands upright in the photograph, blood trailing down its pale ribs, wounds from the fall clearly visible. Yet its posture is not weakened. It is advancing, inch by inch. Its silhouette grows sharper the closer it moves to the camera. Jonah whispers that the creature should not be able to stand after such a fall. Sheriff Ward feels a chill crawl down his spine. The creature isn't dying, it is enduring. And the final frame on the plate shows it reaching forward, its reflective eyes fixed directly on the lens, as if staring back at whoever dared try to capture it. An eerie calm blankets the forest as they retrace the creature's path. The air tastes metallic, thick with the echo of its final howl. Clara stops suddenly, hearing faint attempts at speech drifting between the trees. Not mimicry, but something broken and garbled, like a memory trying to form words again. Sheriff Ward listens closely, recognizing pieces of syllables that hold no malice, only confusion. Jonah bows his head, whispering that the creature may not fully understand the voices it steals. Instead, it repeats what remains inside it, fragments of others trapped within its mind. Clara's lantern flickers, and the broken speech drifts again, softer this time, like a plea fading too quickly to grasp. Sheriff Ward feels something unfamiliar, not fear, but pity. The echo crawler is not thinking, it is remembering, and somewhere in those tangled echoes lies the last proof that it was once human. They find the creature's final resting place near an uprooted pine, its body partially curled as if seeking shelter. Clara approaches with slow, steady steps, noticing something clutched beneath its contorted arm, a leather journal. Different from the earlier one, its cover warped by moisture but intact. Sheriff Ward opens it carefully. Inside are pages written by a doctor, whose name has long faded, describing the transformation of a patient who had exceptional flexibility and whose mind retained sounds with extraordinary clarity. The entries turn darker, chronicling the patient's descent into fear as the experiments twisted their body and voice. Jonah exhales shakily, understanding now why the creature clung to so many voices. They were remnants of the people trying to soothe it, guide it, or plead with it during the experiments. Clara closes the journal softly. The truth is no longer legend or nightmare. It is history, one carved into flesh. Dawn crawls slowly over the mountains, turning the sky the faint color of ash. The forest no longer feels hostile, only tired. Clara watches the creature's silent form, struck by the sudden absence of any echo. Sheriff Ward wonders aloud if the mimicry ended because the voices finally quieted inside it. Jonah places a hand on the creature's shoulder, whispering a farewell meant for whatever part of it once lived a human life. The forest accepts the stillness, letting wind move softly through the leaves. Clara closes her notebook, realizing that some stories are not meant to be solved, only witnessed. Sheriff Ward feels the weight of the night lift from his chest. For the first time since the creature appeared on the trail plate, the woods feel like themselves again, but the silence that follows seems too complete, as if nature itself is holding its breath for what comes next. Days pass, and life cautiously returns to the settlement. Villagers walk the paths again, though lanterns still burn late into the night. Sheriff Ward and Clara sort through the remaining plates, storing them as evidence of what the forest once hid. Jonah places the journals inside a sealed crate, believing the truth should rest quietly rather than stir fear again. The woods remain still, until one morning, Clara develops a new plate from a camera left near the ridge. At first it shows only trees and mist. Then, in the corner, a faint silhouette emerges. A small shape, low to the ground, watching. Not the echo crawler, something smaller, thinner. Its limbs not yet fully bent, but shifting nonetheless. Sheriff Ward's breath fades. Jonah closes his eyes. Clara stares at the faint outline, realizing the truth they had feared. Echoes do not end. They return. And the forest, patient as always, keeps its secrets beneath the pines.